John, there is a kind of courage that can be necessary in being a public spokesman of the gospel, a local church pastor or a Christian author. Early on in your pastorate at Bethlehem, you received a death threat at one point. Would you want to tell us about that and any principles of courage for pastors in the line of work?
Yeah. Before I tell that story, courage is needed every day, because I think compromises in the ministry don't mainly come when we cave under a death threat. My guess is most pastors aren't going to cave under a death threat. They're going to cave under the criticism from some good elder. And so the courage that's needed for steady state ministry is courage in relationships where almost everybody around you seems to want you to alter your conviction for the sake of something that seems good, and you don't think you should do it, and so you need to have courage to follow through. And so I don't want to give the impression that the only time courage is needed is when there's some kind of extraordinary danger to your family or to your body. But I will say that increasingly in our day, with the kinds of stands that we're called to take, not belligerently or stridently, but firmly in regard to certain socially acceptable sins, we will be increasingly viciously criticized and maybe physically threatened, because people will regard us as a threat to the democratic order or whatever. When that happens, then we need to call on some pretty clear texts in the New Testament. But for me, there have been these several times where the one that you're referring to, that I've referred to before, this was my first 3 years, I think, because I was living at the Yellow House. And I think it was Easter Sunday morning. It was one major Sunday morning, and I got this anonymous phone call that said, I'm going to take you out. I don't remember the exact words, but kill you. And I hung up, and I told Noel, and I called the police, and this is early in the morning, and they came, and I just told them what I heard, and they said, okay, well, we think we know about this kind of thing. Like maybe he'd done that before to others. But later on, I prayed, and I walked over to church, and I thought, well, he might mean on the way to church. So what you do in those moments, I think, is, okay, I could go underground, I could stop ministering, I could, whatever. But I didn't feel that would be good for the church, certainly not on this given Sunday morning. You can imagine somebody just calling around all the pastors and saying they're going to kill them so that all the Easter services won't happen. Well, no way. So you go to a text like Matthew 10, where Jesus says, don't fear those who kill the body and after that have nothing they can do. Fear him who can cast both soul and body into hell. Yes, I tell you, fear him. And then he goes further and he says, aren't 2 sparrows sold for a penny, and not one of them falls to the ground apart from your Father? And the hairs of your head, aren't they numbered by your Father? Now, the point of those 2 little stories, the sparrow piece and the hair piece, is what? Sparrows are utterly inconsequential, and he's totally on top of it. He's in charge. No sparrow is out of course or dying without appointment. And no hair is turning white or black without God's appointment, which means I've got you covered. You're my child. I love you. I'm in charge of your life. I've got everything under control. Stand on the housetops, same context, stand on the housetops and say what needs to be said, because it's all going to be revealed in the end anyway, and all those critics will be brought to light, and you will be vindicated, and they will be judged, and so keep serving me. So that's just one little text, and there's just so many more. If you need a default text, Romans 8 is always default, where he says, we are being killed all day long. We are counted as sheep to be slaughtered. No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. Which means, yeah, he might take you out. But if he takes you out, your church, more than a conqueror. God's going to bring incredible good out of this.